This is a Fox News alert. There's an active shooter situation in Midtown Manhattan. Mayor Eric Adams says don't go outside if you are near Park Avenue and East 51st Street. Joining me now on the phone is Eric Shawn, live from the scene. Eric, what can you tell us? All these reports are flying across the internet. At this point, we have very little confirmed, but I know you're working on that.
Yes, Laura. I'm right now across the street from the shooting scene, and the preliminary reports that I have is that the shooter is down. The shooter is dead of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. He apparently had some tactical equipment. The mass shooting occurred at 345 Park Avenue. That's a massive building on 52nd and Park Avenue. And for those who know Manhattan, it's the heart of Manhattan, the heart of New York City. We are a block away from Rockefeller Center. At some point in the last 45 minutes or so, this gunman apparently went up to the 33rd floor of this building. There are reports of multiple people shot. Local reports say at least 6 shot. Reports say that there are apparently victims in the stairwells. That could indicate that when the shooting started, people started to flee, and perhaps the active shooter was pursuing some of those people. We don't know that for sure. We're waiting for an official press conference from authorities. But right now, there are hundreds of New York City police officers who have cordoned off and frozen this whole area from about 54th Street on down to Grand Central Station, the Grand Central Terminal, in the heart of New York City's skyscrapers and business district, as they wait to try and flush out and remove any of the victims by EMS and get a determination on the cause or the motive of the shooter. Again, Laura, I have been told, not confirmed, that the shooter is dead of a self-inflicted gunshot wound, and at least 6 people have been shot, and they were responding to potential victims in the stairwells.
Yeah, what we're learning about the building now, the New York Post is reporting and other outlets are reporting that the building on Park Avenue houses the NFL, Blackstone, and other major corporate headquarters. This is a prominent address in Midtown Manhattan, and we don't know if there's any connection between the shooting and any of the tenants in that building. We'll find that all out, but that is prime. That is primo real estate, and those are big corporate headquarters. Yes,
Blackstone, Steve Schwartzman's multi-billion-dollar fund, of course, occupies that building. I have been told that victims or EMS is responding to victims on the 33rd floor. So we're trying to determine as best as we can what office or what company may have been targeted by this active shooter.
There are photos up. We're not going to put them up yet, but there are photos of what looks to be the individual carrying a rifle. Again, reports in the Post and elsewhere that he was carrying a rifle. Unclear if he had other weapons on his person. But you know, it's a absolutely shocking photo to see someone walking across a plaza on Park Avenue openly carrying a rifle in his hand and looking very casual as he's doing that. And again, we don't know if the photo was before or after or how this photo was taken, but it looks like it was taken from a building window or a security camera hanging outside one of the local nearby structures. So Midtown shootout, and we'll say, Eric, and you and I know this area well, this is one of the busiest times of the day for lawyers and other corporate workers, people in retail, not too far from the Diamond District. Obviously places like Radio City Music Hall, Rockefeller Center, all of this is nearby, and Trump Tower is not far. But it's all central. Yeah, it's all centrally located.
More than a couple. Yeah, 5 blocks. It's across the street from the headquarters of Colgate-Palmolive, for example. And you mentioned photos that you see that I don't have access to. But one has to wonder, how did this gunman then get access into the building? You have to go in, you have to go past lobby security, you have to go up in an elevator in order to get up to the 33rd floor. So these are all questions investigators will have. The latest that we have, of course, preliminary, not confirmed officially, that the shooter is down. The shooter killed himself of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. At least 6 people have been wounded in this. Multiple Victims, I understand, in the stairwell. This occurring by the 33rd floor. And a New York City police officer, we understand, has also been shot. He obviously responding to these reports of a man, as you say, with a rifle here in Midtown Manhattan, right in the heart of the corporate world. We've had so much criticism of corporations. We don't want to speculate on the exact cause. This could be a personal situation. This could be an employee who was fired. This could potentially have a political bent. Who knows? Authorities will find out everything about the motivation and who this person is. It is far too early to speculate on any type of motive, exactly why this tragedy is unfolding as we speak.
Eric, the man in the New York Post coverage, which is more extensive now, seen wearing a blazer, a button-down shirt, dark sunglasses, as he's carrying what appears to be a AR-style rifle with a strap, and it looks like he might have a suppressor on the barrel of the AR-style rifle. It's hard to tell in this photo, but it's definitely an AR-style rifle. And again, he's not running in this photo; he's casually walking. And the New York Post has these photos. So that would tell you potentially with the blazer and a button-down shirt, you've got a preppy style of an executive, perhaps, who may be taking out his anger against one of the companies there. We don't know. That would indicate that, but is of course far too early as this unfolds, and we will find out exactly what happened here. But right now, the whole part of Midtown is frozen at the moment as they are responding to those who are still in distress. Yeah. Well, we haven't confirmed that this is the shooter, but it's hard to imagine someone would be strolling along Park Avenue with an AR-style rifle casually with a blazer and a button-down shirt and not be the shooter. So that'd be pretty easy to distinguish. Eric, thank you.
Sure, of course.
Eric, thank you very much.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.